Uh, oops. Evening. I'm staying on just for a sec, just to. I've just put some chants today on this remarkable day where we got this huge march in London, and we've also got people around the world chanting for Charlie. I think Charlie has changed the world, and so this is it. And it's also going to end with a song I wrote for Charlie that Joel Jamel played at the vigil for Charlie, which was incredibly moving. So here we go. Just a few minutes to start.
Jesus loves every single one of you in this place tonight.
Mine over there. Mine over here. Mine run out.
And it's going to become an anthem. It's already had more than 1 million views. We're going to play that now. So as we do, please bow your heads in remembrance of this great man.
It was raining last night. I could hear it dancing on the roof. I fell asleep listening to the beauty of rain. But when I woke, you were gone. Someone had used their hate to take you away. And so the rain of last night is now raining inside of me. I think the angels just might be standing up to welcome you home, as we remain here fighting in the trench that just grew colder. But despite the shot, I know you're not dead. Instead, you're leaving light could become our new dawn. I wonder if when your mother first held told you, as all the love you brought was a dawn in her eyes. Did if she ever sensed then that a warrior was here, with a tongue for a sword and the armor of truth? For in a darkening world that's being turned upside down, you were a single man that rose until we could see you from here. How many roads must a man walk down before we call him a man? Well, I'm on your road, to try and emulate you by constructing a sign that reads Charlie Kirk, a man passed this way. On his journey to the son who he knew, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us home. On his journey to the son who Charlie believed, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us all home.
Hey,
Hello.
yeah, it's got to choke me up now. There's shall we just bring her in? I mean, it's late over there.
It's been an amazing week, and yeah, let's get Liz up.
Those lyrics, Michael, you wrote those lyrics. They are exquisite. And when you quote Bob Dylan in the middle of that song,
I know.
how many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? And then you go, and we are on that road. We're all on that road. And I think you were one of the first to say, we are all Charlie Kirk now. We are all Charlie Kirk now. And we heard it chanted. But some of those lyrics, your leaving light could become a new dawn. I think the angels might be standing up to welcome you home. Oh, Michael. And it's so genuine. It's just so it's happening all around the world. I think this is bigger. I think this is as big as Diana's funeral, but in a different way. I think it's as big. I think this funeral is going to stop the world. And I think a lot of the people on the left are just starting to wake up to what's going on.
Yeah, their time is over. Their hate, their state-sponsored hate, is coming to an end. And they have space, like the Twitter before Elon, that was it. It was just a space of hate. But they covered up its woke, we're protecting this. But they just blocked any speech they didn't like. And they felt they were right to do that,
Oh, but you guys in Australia are so lucky. You've got that American woman who apparently is so concerned about your well-being. She's going, you're not allowed to see it. I mean, I put up a post like going, is this woman insane? She's treating Australian adults like they're kindergarten children. Sorry, Michael, it's past your bedtime and you can't see the... Now, Megyn Kelly, who said as I was trained in mainstream media, we would never normally show that in mainstream media, or legacy as it is now, because it's dying. But she said, it is crucial we look at what happened to Charlie. It's crucial because it was done by the far left, and they've been murdering us in our souls, in our throats. Do you notice how much is going for the throat? They want to silence us, the Ukrainian woman. The throat is what they want to shut down, and we will not allow them. But just before we move on, can you tell us how that song was, how those lyrics came? Did they come in one fell swoop, or did you agonize over them? Felt like they flowed out, Michael.
I had a lot of work to do. I had a few videos to do, but I just couldn't get motivated to do them. There was a lot of turmoil inside of me, inside of everybody. I was no different, you know. It was really, and I really haven't cried much this whole COVID era. It's, you know,
Yeah.
maybe in hospital once, but really not much. But I was really crying for a man I never met, would never meet, and it was more than just being a fan of what he did. Like, I like studying how he debated. I knew that by shooting him in the throat, this was an end of an era now. They were trying to say, they were shooting at you in the throat, Liz. They were shooting Paul
Exactly.
in the throat. That bullet was aimed at all of us. And I was so angry. And I just thought, I'll just start writing. And it had rained last night in the bus. So that's why it starts with that. And I remember thinking how beautiful it was, almost like a gift from God. It was just such a beautiful night. And then you wake up in the morning to this, and it just within, and this is the beauty of the strength of AI. So I wrote it in about 5-6 minutes,
Oh my God.
and I didn't edit it. It's just had the one take, and then I threw it in AI, and AI put that music to it, and then I just got some pictures of him and put it together, and now I'm just using with other videos. And then I gave it to I said it to Hoodie, because I knew Hoodie knew him, and I said, "Listen, I've written this, mate." And then Hoodie got back and said, "Can I share it?" And now it's had 1.4 million views just on his page.
Wow.
Yeah, so on ours it's gone ballistic as well, but just on his, Hoodie's gone to me. It's had over 1 million views, mate, and that was in like a few hours. So yeah, so
That is amazing.
but so I gave it away. It's got it on all the things you download, and people are downloading it like crazy. But I don't want the money from a dead guy, and so it's more important that I feel that my life has changed. I wrote a piece last night called "The Dawn of the Kirkians," and I'm a Kirkian now. I want to do what he does. I'm not going to shut up, and I want to start getting better at debating, and I want to hold my ground now in the face of hate. And you're not going to do it. You're going to have to kill me too. That's it. And I think around the world, all these people have rose up and goes, yeah, you're going to have to shoot me as well. You're going to have to shoot all of us. That's why I got that badge. You're going to need more bullets because we're not shutting up. Yeah. So this is what I think's happened. It's a beautiful, it's a thing of beauty what's happening around the world. But that footage needs to be seen. That's historic footage. That woman, what's her name? Karen. Yeah, she's wrong. It needs to be seen. This is pure history now. I mean, when I saw it in the morning, I was like, what? That what? I couldn't believe what I was seeing, you know. And in the throat,
Absolutely.
and then he's gone. Well, he's not gone.
Uh,
He's everywhere now. And when did you see it yourself, Liz?
Well, actually, we were on a meeting with Jim Ferguson, our friend in the UK, and there were some guys from this is for Freedom Train International, so the Canadian boys were on, and one of them said, hey, Charlie Kirk's just been shot. And I honestly, for a moment, I went, please let it have just grazed him, grazed his ear, grazed his, please don't make this real. And then I got off, I was a bit casual about it, and then, I saw that. I mean, it still chokes me up. The shot where it's suddenly the blood is coming out, and I just threw down my phone, and I was like you. I just had a reaction that I was not able to control. It was like from my gut. I was really crying, and I've gone through a lot, like all of us in the last 5 years. I think often stoically, and it just came out. Now, here's an interesting thing. When Diana died, and do you remember when her hearse came out, and there was silence except for the sobs? A counsellor who worked in England told me months after that, he said for about a year after that, the counsellor's workload was really, really down across England. And the reason they think was that people let out so much of the pent-up emotion at that funeral and in the aftermath for Diana. Because I think after Diana's death, this is the reason I'm saying it's similar, we really saw her beauty, and we saw how she had been defiled, and we had taken her for granted. I'd been in a legacy media newsroom in TV1, and they're horrible people. I mean, they're just awful. I mean, there's a lot of TV1 footage going around of the breakfast people who were shooting at a little toy of Trump, you know, and that was about a year ago or so.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. That wasn't even sanctioned by a broadcasting standards authority. But my interviews have been, you know, silenced everywhere and censored and shadow banned. But that was allowed to get through, and they went, "Oh, no big deal." Well, people around the world are horrified, and I'm sure that will have made its way all the way to Trump. But at the time, you know, I was so used to it in the newsroom. Oh, Diana, oh, she's too emotional. All those put downs. After her death, it all kind of crystallized for many of us. Oh my God, this woman was treated horrifically by a horrible, dysfunctional family and a very cruel husband. We see King Charles. I can't even call him a king. He's not my king.
He's not
Charles
my king.
he's betraying his whole country. He must have been a nightmare husband. So we all realized kind of what we'd missed out on. And I think the same thing is happening with Charlie. I mean, everywhere today, people are sharing his little vignettes, his little talks to those students.
Yeah.
And there are some beautiful ones.
Yeah.
I've kind of partially fallen in love with him and his wife because they're just they're really real people. And this isn't like a child, like, oh, I've got a crush on them. It's like, wow, I kind of think they're very cool examples of how we can be in the world. So where I was a bit casual. I saw the actual footage, and then I really became aware of the evils in this world. And Elon Musk wrote this. He said, the Democrat Party, the far left, are evil. Or no, they are devils, I think, or demonic. It was one of those phrases. It went to 61 million within a day, I think, 61 million views. So I think I sat with that for that first day, and it was a mixture of grief that we've lost such a beautiful soul, which is so needed on this earth, and anger and confusion at the horror. Where were you, Paul? Where were you when you heard?
I was home and I saw it, and at first it didn't hit me, but then I noticed that I was tearing all day, and I stopped at one point to pray for Charlie, and the tears just flowed, you know. Yeah. And I thought, this is strange, because I didn't really know. I saw him on my feed occasionally, but I didn't really know who he was. And I thought, why am I feeling so distraught? But I got the sense, like you, that this changed. This was going to change everything. You know, they tried to silence him, and you know, we've been facing so much censorship the last 3 years. They've tried to silence us, and I feel like Charlie's sacrifice has unblocked, you know, this. It's actually done the opposite. It's unblocked a wave of speech, and you know, at the marches, the march yesterday, and they've been full of love, you know. There's not been the hate. It's not been neutral. It's not been divisive. You know, it wasn't as joyful after, you know, after the memorial of Charlie, but the one a few weeks ago. Again, I was very mindful of what the mood would be like in the crowd, because of the way the media was portraying it, and they were people from all, you know, backgrounds, and it had a really nice feel, and the same yesterday.
We've all been so manipulated, Michael, don't you reckon? We've been so manipulated. So you think about the George Floyd thing. I remember feeling, even then, I'm kind of feeling like I'm being herded into something, and everything was being burnt, and it was all, you know, the lines were all being there to trot out, and it was all on mainstream media, which if it's on mainstream media, you pretty much know it's based on a lie nowadays. And there was this lovely meme contrasting. This was Black Lives Matter or George Floyd, and everything was burning and it was all disruption. This is Charlie Kirk's death, and it was people in church praying. And I just saw somebody said, I just went to church today, and I sent you that. You probably didn't get it, Michael, but it was this young girl in America, and she said,
I do have it.
Oh, it's
I do have it.
beautiful.
Let me.
I think a lot of people who feel like this.
I'll download it as we're talking. Let me get to it. That was on my list.
Liz,
The
this
other
is
one
your
I'd like
this
to
is the
talk about,
example of
though-
what you were talking about.
Yeah, perfect.
George Floyd, mostly peaceful, slightly fiery. In comparison, you've got the Charlie Kirk vigil, and it's just totally different, isn't it?
Nothing burnt down, no hatred, no, just people really quietly thinking, what kind of world do I want? I'll just quickly read this. There was a young man who went to Charlie's last address there at the Utah University at the last minute, and he ended up 10 feet from Charlie. And you might have seen it. He was sort of in tears saying this, but he said it was just so horrific to see what happened to him. And he said, if you don't want to call it God, that's okay, but you need to feel the love. You need to find love, because as we move away from that and move into hostility, hate, and anger, society can't exist. So I think we know that he's saying if we move into hostility, hate, and anger, society can no longer exist. So it's like we know it has to be brought back into love. And I think this whole example of Charlie's foundation for life, which is God, people are seriously considering, well, it hasn't been enough in the last decades to have money or stuff or big flash cars or massive houses or lots and lots of trips overseas. I still feel empty. And here's this couple, Charlie and his wife, and their little children, just very happy. And he's got something really stable to fall back on. I think a lot of people are thinking about that now. What would you say, Michael?
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually wanted to just go back in this conversation a bit before we start. I'm downloading that thing now. I want to understand what it is we're seeing. Because when Diane died, what it was Diane was one of us that got lifted up into the gilded cage, like someone from the Hunger Games taken from one of the villages, and then they ate her alive.
Yes, they did.
They're entrenched, whatever it is in there, that was it. And so we despaired for her. She was the fairy tale, this woman who became a princess, and then Charlie was a warrior for the front. And he was fearless, getting up in thousands of people. If you watch those videos, I used to watch them because the amount of people that hated him, and all he was doing was going, you're racist. So what do you mean by racist? Tell me exactly what you mean. And he was just getting them to state their hate. It basically articulate your hate, so I understand it, and they couldn't do it. And this is why. Even the young man who appears to have shot him apparently went to school normal and got indoctrinated. Now he's got a trans girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, and where's the and he became a killer. And they say he became indoctrinated in schools, in the universities. So it's sort of, he was taking on the world of hate, which we've all faced. You've faced it, Liz. Paul, you've faced it. I've faced it. There's this hate. It's evil in the world at the moment. There is, and it's even like a banal evil, like how they just late term abortions are illegal now all across the country. That's evil as far as I'm concerned, but it's a victory for evil. And he was far more courageous than me. He was far more articulate than me. He had a great memory. I got a shit memory. So I was just used to look at it in awe of what he did. But now that he's done this, I suddenly realized, what are we watching here? Because I'm in the march. There's this young man behind me, and he's never been to a march before, 16 years old, and he's calling out, I need a world where I can buy a house. He's wearing a Magna cap, which he's getting in a lot of trouble for. But he wore that for Charlie. So his first ever march, he wore that for Charlie. He's right up the front. He's full of passion. So I gave him half my speech. I said, look, I got 5 minutes. I'll give you half. And he came on. Now he's reached 1.1 million. And I had a brief talk to him. I said, you know what? Charlie died the other day and he left his baton, a free speech baton. He goes, the next day you picked it up and you've reached 1.1 million people. That's how Charlie's living. All around the world now, Charlie's living. And then I made this thing to me. I thought I'm a Kirky now, and what that means is hard, but you're watching these people in America who are losing their jobs because they've come out, oh, I'm happy he's dead, and they're all losing their jobs. And I'm thinking, by canceling them, aren't we just doing what the left did to us? Aren't we just shooting them in the neck, even if it's just with a canceling? And Charlie didn't want this. Charlie took everyone with them, and he just sat there and talked to them, and they called him. You watched enough of those videos, they come up, you're a racist, you're a homophobic, you're this, they always hated him, and he took it all. And I'm just thinking that we sort of betraying his legacy from the get-go if we start blocking these people. I mean, we have to block the actual computer bots, they're not, but we can tell the people. And so we can tell who are humans usually by the third comment. And a part of me is thinking that's the work we have to do. We have to bring back discourse. We have to bring it back. Even if they don't want to do it, we have to try. Because that's all Charlie was doing, was trying. Sometimes he failed, sometimes he got a minor victory, sometimes he lost. But he was trying, and he was trying to bring decency, integrity, and discourse back to our tumultuous world. And that's I truly I wrote a piece last night called "Welcome to the Era of the Kirkians." And I think this young man who spoke was a Kirkian. All these people speaking, they're all saying, "We are Charlie Kirk. We are Charlie Kirk." That means more than just the man. That means courage under fire. That means trying to be a light in the darkness. And we're sick of the dark. It's like a rant I did, the 10th bird, where I said, in the 10th bird, it was a rant saying a hunter told me he could shoot 10 birds, and then the 10th bird, once the 10th bird was shot, all the rest would fly away. But that's who he said, they just sit there looking around going, why is everyone's head falling off? And I was thinking, in our case, what is the 10th bird in our case? What was it going to be? I thought it was going to be the death of a young boy on a soccer field from myocarditis, something that would finally snap. But I never realized the 10th bird would be Charlie. And that's what has happened, I think. It's one death too many. It's enough. And people all the empathy they used to have, the tolerance of transgenderism. Just whatever. That's like, no. That's enough hate. Your hate stops at Charlie's throat. We're going to fight back now. And we're not going to fight back like you did with George Floyd or Floyd. We're going to fight back as Charlie would want us to fight back. We're going to talk to you.
Beautifully said. I mean, there are a few things there we'll swing around and come back to. Was the person that they've got in under arrest, the person that they say is guilty, is he really the one who's done it? I don't think so. I think we're I'll deal with that quickly now. When I was on air on the morning of 9/11, there was so much coming at us from the feeds, from the BBC and, the CNN, all the American feeds. And it's like, oh my God, breaking news, and look at this, and look over at that direction, look at this. And I remember in the middle of it saying to my producer in my headphones, I pressed the button, I went, that third tower, there was no plane there. And how did that pancake down? That doesn't make any sense. And then the producer came back, oh, Liz, don't worry about it. It was the reverberation in the ground. And Liz goes back to sleep, mainstream media. Okay, all right, well, just tell me what Reuters says. And I mean, we all know now that was a total rort. But I look back at that over the last few days and I thought, that's what they did to us. They overwhelmed us with breaking news and new decisions. And look, we found a passport that's not burnt when the rest of the concrete building got pulverized, and look, it's not even burned and we can see the name, and it's clearly Osama bin Laden within one day. We all just went along with it because we started from the base that they wouldn't lie to us. Now we're starting from the base. Yes. Of course they lie to us. So what have we had? We've had a false, a very false Jewish man in the crowd, pretending to have done it and keeping them busy. And then we've had people running around the edges. And then we've got all these distractions. Look, they're guilty. And I don't think any of what we're looking at is what the truth is. And there is footage out there. Have you guys seen it? The guy in the blue
Yeah.
shirt with a gun under his
Yeah.
arm. It's a little pistol, but more than that, it looks like there was a guy in the crowd just to the side with a phone that can turn into a gun. There are those phones that can turn into guns. And you can see it ricochet in his hand. And you can see he's right in the line of fire for what happened to Charlie. And you can see the reaction. And it's like those other two seem to be keeping a gap for the line of fire. So have a look at that footage. Obviously, we won't put it up here, but
Well, the reason I
keep
probably-
digging, everyone.
The reason I
Yeah.
probably won't is I don't care who killed him, because
Yeah.
whoever killed him, that if we get distracted by who killed him trying to find the truth, what we're missing out on is actually the dawn of a new age, where basically you tried to silence us with one bullet, and that's why I was saying you're going to need a lot more bullets, because we're all Charlie Kirk. This is like Spartacus. This is, even to go further, like last night I was walking down the Sydney Mall, and after the big rally, and after having a few pints with the Oost house here, and there was I was walking in the wake of another person who used to speak, who was killed, and that's Jesus. And what I mean is, there was 4 groups down the mall. There was a group of new Africans, but Australian Africans, you know what I mean? But there they were in all their suits, and they were singing gospel music, and it was beautiful. And then we came across some Indians. They would had their own thing going on, and then there was some Australians just doing the speeches. And I thought, this man's been dead for 2,000 years, and he's been dead for 2,000 years. He hasn't come back, and yet in this mall now, in a country that didn't exist when Jesus was alive, they're still passionately selling his words, his teachings, and telling people to come for him. You know, he's managed to stay alive. And I'm not saying Charlie is Jesus, but what it says in these particular instances, you can only kill the body. What happens to the spirit relies on us. And I think Charlie's going to be alive for a long time. And there'll always be people talking about who did it. But the real beauty is what's happening around the world. One man and one bullet. Basically, the bullet asked all of us, are you prepared to die to defend free speech? And the world has stood up and said yes. So they're going to need a lot more bullets.
That's beautifully poetic. I mean, I think it works on all levels, because I think in showing the government that we are this awake, they stop maybe trying to roll out these games on us, Paul. What do you think? I love that it's going to be the people demanding of our governments, stop telling us your lies, stop feeding us your games and your magician's trickery. We're done with you if you do that. Start to actually live to your words, Kash Patel, and actually be transparent, which he's not. But I think that is part of it. But in answer to your other question, before we go to you, Paul, you said, what do you think is going on? Diana was kind of a sacrificial lamb for this horrific, whatever the royals represent, this satanic mess that they are. But I think Charlie represents, well, I had this strange thought today. I'd love to know your reactions. What would we do in the world if Jesus actually did reincarnate? And I'm not saying he is, but could he be like a Moses, or could he be like a prophet clearing the way for something? But would we be as horrific, or certain parts of us be as horrific to Jesus if he did reincarnate, and they go, oh, you're just a bullshitter and we don't believe you, and get lost? This is what the head of one of our leading retirement companies, it's called Simplicity. This is what the head of it, he's a former Wall Street banker, came back to New Zealand from Wall Street years ago, and I got caught up in the bullshit story on media. Oh, his parents were school teachers and he's this humble man coming back to help New Zealand. So a lot of New Zealanders invested their retirement income. I know tonight from people who've contacted us, many are pulling it out, because this is what he wrote. His name's Sam Stubbs. We should mourn the violence, but not the man. And we certainly cannot eulogize a racist, sexist, and bigot. R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. I wish your ideas had died with you. Now, he put that up on X, and he had such a mountain of condemnation that I want to read what came just before I came on here. Regarding my post, which has swiftly been removed about Charlie Kirk, I would like to sincerely apologize for my words and any misunderstanding they have understandably caused. Murder is always wrong. I disagreed with his views on many things, but he had every right to express them, as do his critics. This in no way makes what happened okay. My deepest condolences go to his family and all others who die for what they believe in. And this is a man who wrote, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. I wish your ideas had died with you. I mean, this has to, we have to.
Dying.
I mean, I would say to New Zealanders, if you are in the retirement fund simplicity, take your funds out. We've had lots of messages tonight saying I'm not going to stay in there. Now, the reason I say that, Michael, rather than just, oh, come in, brother, I think that there has to be a really honest reckoning now for all of what has gone on. And it's not being vicious. It's saying actions have consequences. And I believe Charlie Kirk would stand for that. So he even said, if somebody murders someone, I don't believe it's the right thing that murderer who's taken someone's life is allowed to live their life while the person they murdered is not. So I don't know that I haven't quite worked that out, because I've always said, oh, I don't believe in an eye for an eye. You know, Jesus said, turn the other cheek. But what he was saying really was what you do has consequences, and why the far left has been so out of control, like toddlers having endless tantrums and being able to silence and bully the rest of us into having the jabs or not being able to speak out or whatever they've done in the last 5 years. They've had no consequences. They've been totally indulged. And I think a loving society gives those people who have been out of control barriers, like boundaries. You can't behave like this anymore. That era is over. What do you think, Paul?
No, I agree. I think even before Charlie's assassination, it seemed to me like we were on the brink of something. When Joseph Ladapo, the Surgeon General of Florida, came out and said, we're going to end all the childhood vaccine mandates, and he wasn't making a scientific argument anymore. He came to sort of try to argue over who killed Charlie or where the bullet came from or whatever. He wasn't making a scientific argument of, didn't even, in a sense, the way I understood it, he was saying this is a moral argument. This is right or wrong. Mandating a medical treatment that could harm and kill is wrong, you know. And for too long, we've been hearing the mantra from the left, and all through COVID, they justified the unethical, immoral, and tyrannical behavior with "it's for the greater good, it's for the greater good," and you know, to the greater good and compassion is good, is of course something that we all aspire to, but they've weaponized it. They've weaponized it too. So I could see that things were shifting towards this question of morality. And I really was happy with that, because for 5 years now, I've been finding minutiae and article and scientific argument and mathematical argument and finding all these data sets. And there was no amount of data was ever going to convince the other side. And I've been saying to Michael, you know, I tweeted the other day that my former colleagues in the medical profession, they don't need more data, they need an exorcism. You know,
yes.
You know, because it was something of the heart that had to change. And then Charlie hit. Then his assassination hit, and it was like, and there was talk about the march that was going to happen a few weeks ago, and I argued, if it doesn't come out of a place of love and compassion, the outcome will not be good. You know,
Yes.
and I said that in the context that I understand people are angry. You know, just like the 16-year-old boy, they're looking at their quality of life. Australia has the biggest negative real income drop of any of the OECD nations. We're going down the plug hole so quickly that it's hard to keep up, and it surprises me that we don't have people burning trucks in the street out of anger, or that they're not angry with the lies and deception and tyranny of the last 5 years that was justified on bullshit to put us in home arrest, you know, medical martial law, or just such a large litany of lies. It stays in the arm. It breaks. It goes away from the body quickly. It doesn't go into the nucleus. You know, it's not going to affect fertility. It can't cause cancer. It's safe and effective. It's for the greater good. For the greater good. So many lies, and so this shift now back to the heart, back to right and wrong, back to what's ethical and moral. You know, I rejoice in that, because I think that's an argument that we're on solid ground and have been from the beginning. And everything else, a bit akin to this question, where did the bullet come from, and what was this hand signal, and who did this and who did that, in a sense is missing the point, in the same way that arguing over the minutiae of p-values on a farmer-sponsored study is sort of irrelevant to the point of whether or not it was ever right to do what they did.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got that video, Liz. Let's play this.
Yeah.
Just to wrap this
Let's
up.
have a look.
I've never ever opened the Bible before. In fact, I know nothing about Christianity or Jesus. But yesterday, after witnessing the assassination of Charlie Kirk on the internet, and it just being so normal to people, like watching this man get shot in the neck, and everybody being so desensitized and just going on with life like it was normal. Something was calling me to my husband's Bible. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law, my husband, you know, they have been trying to bring me to Christianity, you know, since I met them. They're not like overbearing, they don't force it on me, but like, you know, they talk about it. And they respect that, like, I don't know how I feel. But for the very first time yesterday, I grabbed the Bible. I don't know what I'm looking for in the Bible. I don't know why I felt like I needed to grab the Bible. But I grabbed my husband's Bible. And the page that I opened up to was the verse, John 8:32. And it said, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And I feel like that changed me so much, because up until yesterday, I leaned both ways politically. I am pro-life, but I also believe women should have autonomy over their bodies. I don't care if someone is gay, but I don't want sexuality pushed on my children in school. I believe in the Second Amendment, but like, it also makes me sad that bad guys have guns too. I've never voted before, but after yesterday, I know where I stand. I will never cast a blue vote. I am convinced that the Democratic Party is ran by the devil himself. And I know I'll get hate for saying this, and I don't care. But I feel like Charlie Kirk's death, woke me up spiritually, and now I can't unsee the truth.
Wow.
And I played that about 2 hours ago. And when she got to the 8:32, and I knew I was coming on here with you, Michael, it was just like, whoa, thank you for that. That's such beautiful, synchronicity. And also, I don't know about you, how you both got through these last 5 years in the dark times, but my grandmother, when I was a little girl, paid me, I think it was a shilling, because it was a long time ago, to learn the 23rd Psalm, which is just some of the most beautiful English language. I think it's there with Shakespeare, and it goes, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. And in the darkest times, I would go to that psalm, just having that in my memory bank. And I'm going to do this for my grandchildren. It was the greatest gift. So there's a part of it. If you look it up in the Bible, if you don't know where else to go in the Bible, just try the 23rd Psalm, and it goes, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever, which is where Charlie is. Now, it's not to be lecturing. It is just some of the most comforting language when you are crying at 3 a.m. thinking, why am I being persecuted when I'm giving my heart and soul to try to help a better world come into being? And, the mainstream media and the horrible people, even on the freedom side, there are some horrible people who are jealous and nasty. Why, God? I just want to help. And I've given up everything, including money and everything, to do this for free and help as many people as I can. Why? And then I just say that. Or the 10 Commandments. If we all just started there, because most of us don't really know the Bible, but just start and look what she opened to, Michael.
Do you know this? Do you know the psalm you just read was read out at the protest yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Yes, but one of the speakers, basically like a prayer. This is what I mean. I have no concerns if this fires up, the transformation of people's hearts. This is the thing that, I've often said that what I was hoping is the restoration of mankind from the craziness, the insanity, the evil, the outright satanic evil of especially the last 5 years, is not a great reset, but a great awakening. And I sometimes say, I mean that literally, and that's the sense, that's the sort of hope that I have here, that the framing has changed. Anger didn't erupt. It was just this profound sadness. But if it's bringing people back to faith, in goodness, and love and compassion and reasoned arguments and forgiveness. But I think there will be an element as well, I feel, of resolve, a new resolve, because there was despondency, there was despair, there was this feeling that we can't win. And now it almost feels like God is on our side. God is manifesting more obviously in the hearts of the human thing, and this is the best case scenario, is so long as we can continue to come from that place, not the false one for the greater good, but a genuine, pragmatic, but we saw young men, we're seeing young men come to the marches now. We've been waiting for so long, but with resolve, and that resolve is based on principle. Like you say, the 10 Commandments. It's a great, we have to decide as a community what are the principles that unite us, because we have been divided. We have been divided, and I'm not saying you have to believe any particular dogma. I'm just saying, if we can just settle on, like the 10 Commandments, a small number of principles that we all say, yes, these are the good principles that good people of our movement would support, I think we could dissolve all the divisions.
I think that's beautiful. And what would be the first one for me would be do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, which is a commandment. And it means treat other people the way you want to be treated. And I see here, I don't know, Michael, if you can bring her in, but Victoria Rickson is watching the program from the UK. And she is this
Hi.
extraordinary midwife. I've been really wanting you to meet her. I don't know if you can bring Vic in, but
I
she's
don't know.
she's
She'd have
just
to send us an email.
yes, send an email. Who does she send an email to? Because she's
Maybe she
someone
put
I
in
think you boys should really
send
know,
it
actually.
cafelocked@gmail.com. I just want to move on though,
Yeah.
because there's been another extraordinary event that's been happening too, and she's sort of, and this is going across America. Now it's this one girl, Irina Zaruska.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to play the video of what happened to her, but this is one of the images that's going around now. Basically, she was on a train, minding her own business. She was a refugee from Ukraine. She come to America for a new life, and this black man got up and stabbed her in the neck, and then said, I got that white girl." Now, what's really interesting with this story, or not really interesting, but disturbing, is the mainstream media has not touched it at all. Apparently, people are doing things saying it's not in the New York Times. They haven't mentioned it once. Yet the independent media is pushing it, Twitter and stuff like this. And millionaires in America are offering grants for people to paint murals of her all across America, which she's doing. Elon Musk has already put money into that. And so this is showing how irrelevant to the people the mainstream media are now, because if she was black and say it was a white guy that had stabbed a black girl in the neck and walked down the street and say, "See, I got that black girl," America now would be on fire, like with
Yes.
the Floyd, and Black Lives Matter be back and all this stuff, saying all these terrible things. But she's white and it's gone. And I was profoundly disturbed by the video, especially by the lack of empathy by the other people on the train, even though she was clearly injured, and worse than that. So, and I think, to be honest, her beauty plays a part in it too. You know, she was really, really beautiful. So, and it does. It's. I mean, it's just insane. You know, in fact, that video was so bad they wouldn't play it. They played Charlie's, but they wouldn't play the death of her.
It wasn't that it was so. Look, who knows why they didn't? But it was reminiscent of the censorship around vaccine injuries, or you know, things that it just highlighted the things that the mainstream media don't want to touch. You know, they don't touch, and it was. Did you see the meme by that one, Simon Gerlich?
No. Yeah, but
What
that'd
was
be
that?
it. Yeah.
You know, so if it was a black woman and a white man, you know, you'd think that they would have been all over it.
Yeah,
This is coming soon to Netflix. The way they write and rechange the story, so you know, it's just showing the manipulation, hypocrisy of mainstream media.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that, Paul, actually, because I think, along with the horror of him and his just gratuitous, she's just looking at her phone. She has no idea he's really even there, and he just stands up, leans over her, and after it happens, she just quietly puts her hands over her face, and then she collapses to one side. Now, I think that does serve as a metaphor for all of our jab-injured brothers and sisters who've been ignored and reviled and dismissed and abused in the last 5 years. I just think it does remind us all we should never, ever allow that to happen again, because they're still all out there. And I know people say, oh, the news cycle's moved on and that's in the past. It can never be in the past until we put that right either. So we're dancing this dance where we're going to move into a new world, Michael, and heal and create something very, very different. But I still think it might be the journalist in me, but we have to expose the liars, find the truth, and we have to say, no, there is an account to be settled here. And it's not that it's vindictive. It's just you've done great wrong, and it's important you grow as well. So all these people, but we don't want to get vindictive and nasty, and I don't think our side will. I think I think we've been through too much suffering, and I think we want to move on and we want to heal, but it has to be an honest healing. I'm certainly not going to shovel a whole lot of the stuff from the last 5 years under a carpet and pretend
No,
it's a happy world. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
vaccine injured are the forgotten people now.
They
We're
are.
we as the anti-vaxxers are the underclass. We're
Yeah.
basically the dirty Jews of our era, but the vaccine injured, they are the forgotten.
Yes.
And the only way they can get any recognition is if they pretend to the world, they lie to the world that they've got long COVID. Then they can get sympathy. But if they say the vaccine injured, see you later. It's that's what I'm talking about. There's a balance between darkness in humanity and light. And I think Charlie is getting it back here where people are going, no. That's what I'm hoping. I want to tell you, though, with your question about if Jesus came back, I have a play I wrote years ago called The Second Coming, set in a mental home where Jesus is constantly coming back. And as soon as they figure out who he is, they drug him up and stick him in a mental home because they actually don't want him back, because he speaks poverty and all these other things, and he gets in the way of greed. And so, and some nurse on this night forgot to give him his meds. And so he starts to remember who he is. It's a farce, but it actually speaks. Outside, I think there's a Shell service station that's been dismantled and the S falls off. So it's got hell outside with these three crazy people. And of course, Jesus is realizing who he is. Of course, in a mental home goes, I'm Jesus Christ. So he's going to listen. So it's, yeah, but that was the idea, was that the reason he hasn't come back is we don't really want him back. You know,
that's what's shifting. That's what's shifting.
Question. Yeah, but I think he's back. Like how Charlie, I wrote about it, that Charlie's death is like his limbs went around the world and he's touched everyone in a day. So many people. It's remarkable. I've must be equivalent to Kennedy, the death of Kennedy.
I think so.
This is not a politician. This is an influencer. This is one man. You know, that's why I write in the piece, one man who stood up until we could see him from here. We haven't even been to America, one of his things, but we, you know, so it's, yeah. So those two things together, I think, but another good story to get onto, unless you've got something else to finish, is...
Yeah, I do. I want to say, you know, they tried to silence him, and then more and more of us are looking at all his past stories, because I'm a bit like you, Paul. I've only dabbled, because there's so much coming at us now. I'll have a quick look at a Charlie Kirk one. Oh, he's clever. What a clever debater. No, there's another whole level you can go to when you watch it. You just feel so restored in your heart about how beautiful human beings can be, because we've seen a lot of ugliness in humanity. And these two, even the story of how he and his wife fell in love was so cute. It was just so gorgeous. So she applied to work for his organization, Turning Point. And then he said to his offsider, but I think I better go out to lunch and talk to her first. So he went out to lunch and he said, after a couple of hours, I just knew. So he said, you haven't got the job. And she went, oh, okay. And I had both of them talking. You can look it up online. She went, I was kind of a bit surprised because I thought it had gone quite well. And he went, you haven't got the job because I want to ask you out to come out with me. So I can't have you working with me. And then she goes, but I've only just met you. Could we be friends for a while? And he just went, but I don't want to be your friend. I want to ask you out and go out with you. He was so direct and so lovely. And he said to her, I have no time to play games. I don't do that. I just speak my truth, and I want you to have a choice. And then we see where that goes. And it was so, I don't know, you know, we all need to get back to that level of simplicity and honesty. And there was a piece I did want to read out just before we move on. Listen to this, Michael. No one is labeled as mentally unstable more than the one who sees through the bullshit. No one is gossiped about more than the one who is truly authentic. No one is smeared and called crazy more than a truth teller, because no one is more feared than the one who speaks it like it is. Isn't that a gorgeous, isn't that just a gorgeous quote? It was nameless. It was just one I picked up online, and I love it because we've all been that. We've all been called crazy and smeared and denigrated and called unintelligent, all those things. And he went through the same. And all of these people who are watching who say, yeah, but he was a bigot and a racist, go and watch on Turning Point. Go on the
I've
site,
listened to
Turning
his
Point,
stuff. Where
and
does
watch
he?
his
They
stuff.
think that because he just challenges them. Paul,
Yeah.
can you retweet us? Just
Oh, I forgot to retweet us.
do it now, man. We're still on for a bit. There's a the other thing to talk about now, Liz, and you might have some because you've been talking to England, is the big march in England.
Yes,
And
that's why I was hoping Vic would come on.
it looks extraordinary. Yeah, well, if she sends Vic, if you're watching, send an email to cafelockdout@gmail.com. One way. I'll put it
And
up in the
everybody on
put it up in the
on
comments. Hold on.
yeah, lovely. On X, follow at Victoria Rickson, a former midwife, just young, vibrant woman. Now, interestingly, she has a teenage son, right down to very young. She's got a few boys, and her one who's late teens. All his mates are going back to church.
There it is. If she sends an email to there, we'll send her an
Oh, there we
invite.
go. Beautiful.
What's her name? Got to make sure we send it to the right person.
Victoria Rickson, Rixon.
No worries.
It's just lovely.
It comes in. There's this is, what have you heard? I mean, I'm just watching it online and it looks astonishing. And the media is saying, I think the media said 500,000. And then other people are saying 3 million.
I think Karen said there 150,000. By the way, everyone, I love your comments coming in. It's really nice seeing all the comments. Yeah, I think the media said between 100 and 150,000 if they were generous. Some of the legacy media said 40,000, and the whole of London is just
going, there was about 10. There's about 10 people there. Five of them were carers for the disabled people who were protesting.
They are so frightened of the truth, the legacy media. And they're laughable now. I mean, we really can start just laughing and spoofing them. So yeah, they reckon 3 million at least. And it was such a beautiful moment. Did you see that one where the police had given them a particular path to follow through to Westminster? Now, the police cars and vans, like in Melbourne, Michael, when you were there, such bullies, and they had blocked the road that they'd given them. So there was a tiny little opening, and they were going to try to just stop everybody coming through that opening. And the crowd just basically went, oh, piss off, just get out of the way, and walked over them. You know, the police looked so neutered and, with zero virility, because bullies never are virile men. They're weak, pathetic men, bullies.
Yeah,
and the cops around the world have been weak, pathetic bullies and shameful. And, they have to remember that as this turns, they have a choice. The people at the Berlin Wall had a choice. They could have stayed with the oppressors and the tyrants. But I think they thought, no, this Berlin Wall is falling down and I better go with the people. And they said to the tyrants, we're not defending you anymore. So my call out to any police, women or men or families of police who are watching, you have to live in our communities. So get on the right side of history, because you haven't got much time left. And what I mean by that is, you need to put right all the wrongdoings you've done defending these globalist scum, because they're terrible. The puppet politicians are just globalist scum from the corrupt communist Marxist UN and World Economic Forum. They're not our leaders. They don't care about us. So stop defending them. Stop standing with them.
Do you know what was different at the march yesterday? Everyone who was watching the police, for the first time, I actually got a sense they were listening to the speeches.
Really?
For the last few years, the police stood there stony-faced, with their masks on or just looking straight ahead. But I actually felt like they were part of us. They were there to protect. I had the sense that they were there to protect us. They keep us safe, and that they were interested. That there was so many shifts. I wanted to touch a thread that you went on earlier, because like this energy is rising around the world, and it's waking people out of their torpor and their despondency, and we want the changes that we need to make to be done in a way which is compassionate and befitting a Christian, a Christian country. But that doesn't mean not taking action. Being compassionate also means sometimes that you have to, accountability isn't just going to happen on its own.
No.
Actions are going to have to be taken, resolute actions that may well meet pushback, and yet they still need to be done in a compassionate way. If you see someone self-harming, it's not compassionate just to turn away and let them harm themselves. The compassionate thing is to stop the harm that they're doing to themselves.
Yes.
So I'm happy that the atmosphere is one of compassion, but there's still the part of me from the last 5 years that has been yelling accountability. And look now, this was Seymour Hotrip posted this. He said, we know that there's going to be some release in the next few days about the COVID vaccine linked childhood deaths.
Wow.
Wow.
In this tweet, he says, breaking, I'm privy to the information that's coming, and it's truly horrific. Those still in denial must overcome their willful blindness to the serious harms of this novel technology. So,
Wow.
actions are going to have to be taken, and I don't think it's necessarily it's not necessarily a Christian way to be passive and just sit there and let evil just run amok, which is what happened in the last 5 years. I mean, evil has to be confronted and ended. So that's
There's
my
strange
thought.
things though, about evil, of how it's defeated, Paul. Like, I'm not this sort of Bible basher at all, but I think back to how they were throwing Christians in the lions in the Colosseum with the lions. They were crucifying them, crucified, all the disciples, as they said, all this. But the Romans are long gone. And like I said, I'm walking down a mall and here's these people passionately selling Jesus. In every town we go to, I did a thing tonight saying every town I go to, just past this little town, and there's this beautiful stone church that was made. Whoever made it really did a beautiful job of putting it together. There was real care put into this, but their own homes are just rubble. So they put more care into building the church than they did to their own houses. And now they're gone. The church is empty. But so it's something that all these people to feed, to get rich on farming, all these things that were driving them. And yet the community spent all this effort to build this little fort for God. And it's something really interesting about us that we have this deep calling for something that means more than just our lives, really. Even maybe it's a way of making sense of loss or death or something. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm just really intrigued because I went to one tiny little town we passed through today that's on the Hume, and you all see a sign for it. You never go there. I said, let's go in. We got time today. Let's go in. And all the houses are crumbling, and yet it had 2 churches.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's interesting within us, and so there's definitely a spiritual energy lifting, right? The vibration of the world has lifted today. I felt it yesterday. I felt it inside of me, just inside of me. I thought that day of the shooting, my resolve was that's it. I'd been in 4th gear a bit after the heart attack. I'm back in the 5th. That's it. And I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing until either they arrest me, shoot me, or I cark it. And that's it. I'm resolved. This is it. I'm on this path now. I don't care. And I feel that despite the pain, we're in the we're in a beautiful dawn. You can almost feel the dawn of something rising. And these people who are going, I wish Charlie was dead. Oh, I'm so, they don't realize it's like the orcs in realizing that they're surrounded by the trees. Their era is over. People are not going to stand for this hate anymore. You will lose your job. And basically, what we're saying now is, look, if you do this, if you celebrate the death of a human being like Charlie or any death, you celebrate it like you're glad that they're dead, then, well, that's the consequences. You lose your job. You know, we used to get cancelled for saying what? I got my 100,000 page with 100,000 people taken down because I just shared Australian voices. We never advocated for violence, ever. And so these people are going to be, and it's horrific, some of the things I've watched. But then I did watch this other young man in America in his car, and he just said, I've been silent for 5 years. I've had so much I want to say, but I've been too scared to say it for retribution and this.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to speak. And I just...
That's beautiful.
I've got that clip.
Oh, have you? Let's play
Well, let's
it.
have a look.
I
I love that one.
This is what Charlie did.
But before I find that, I've also got this, and again it's the same thing. I'll play what Selena.
Guys, did you hear? The world's finally started to heal. Charlie Kirk was shot.
Charlie's dead. How nice.
Don't feel sorry for you. You're not getting my thoughts and prayers. You're getting my
What's your opinions of Kirk's death? I don't give a fuck about Kirk's death. They don't give a fuck about no white man dying.
And my response to that was, you know, I agree with that banner in the tweet. Don't make peace with evil. Western civilization is worth fighting for. And what's been happening in Britain with that massive Tommy Robinson march, it doesn't just stay in England, because it's all of us. We've all been under the same attack. Europe, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the fact that there's millions there at the home of the Magna Carta and some of the founding principles of our nations as well, and they're having an awakening and a return to the principles that made our countries great. We didn't become great by just allowing ourselves to be conquered and raped and killed and completely passive. But with love, but sometimes love also means, like, I've been watching children getting injected, and pregnant women being injected and poisoned for a few years now, and I'm glad that that the revelations are coming out more and more, and the awakening is happening. But it's got to stop. It's got to be made to stop.
It has.
I'm impatient. The insanity, the double standards in the courts, which you can see very clearly in people who are raped. Who post something about it get more legal trouble, and they get in prison. The people who perform the rape and get set free. I mean, we've seen this sort of double standard within our court systems, which goes hand in hand with the censorship and the lies and propaganda, and that's what I'd like. I am impatient to see it transform, but I think it's coming. I think it's coming, and again, it's not out of vengeance or anger, but it's out of love.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Paul. Sorry.
No, that was all. That was the point I wanted to make.
I was just going to say, the one thing people forget too is we are taught to hate. At the moment, our
Yes.
government is teaching us to hate. I have never known a
Oh,
child who was born drawing a swastika. As soon as they
yes.
get a crayon, as soon as they can formulate anything that we can resemble, it's usually a house or a love heart,
Or a
butterfly,
flower or a
flower,
sun.
the
Yes.
sun, all things like that. You know what I mean? This is generally what they do. We are taught to hate. And our government now, Albanese and all his cohort, they're trying to teach us to hate. They're sacking senators that say things, or just that they're calling us cookers themselves. They're basically going, hate those people. And that's what they're doing to try and stay in power, dividing,
Yes.
putting us down. And this is, and that's so the challenge is to everybody here, because we're realizing this battle we're facing for 5 years, it's in here, all of us individually fighting. And if you start hating, they're winning. They're getting the hate into you. They're getting the hate into your soul. They're conquering your soul. As I talked to Hoodie about this too, because Hoodie and I are total agreement with this, probably Lada as well. But and the same with Paul over here. I haven't actually. I shouldn't speak for Paul, but I don't hate anyone. I don't even hate the
Yeah.
guy that shot Kirk. I shot Charlie. I grieve for it. I feel he's thrown his own life away. I hope they don't give him the death penalty. I actually hope at some point, because I think Charlie would want it, that he gets released. I could be wrong, but in 20 or 30 years, he gets released. I know that's going to be controversial, but he gets a chance to reclaim something. He gets a chance of redemption, because our souls are built for redemption. They're redemption machines. You can come back no matter what you
Michael,
do. You might not
it's
be
for God.
freed.
It's for God to provide.
Yeah, I totally agree.
forgiveness.
I totally agree.
And God, there's no question that if in my mind that they will not, that they won't receive, that they will receive forgiveness from God if
Yeah.
they recognize the harm and they say, like I've taken the poison, how stupid of me, I will never do that again. There's no question in my mind that they will receive.
Yeah.
But you know, the man who stabbed Irina in the neck on the subway, I believe I saw him being sentenced in court
Oh, really? It's gone through already.
and he was sentenced to death.
That was really cool.
And you saw his legs buckle, and he was like, "Oh, you know." And it's natural to have a bit of to feel. But we've also seen what he did. You know, when you're dealing with a death cult, you know that's what's been happening. You've had people and murderers being arrested and then released to kill more people and rape more people. It's not compassionate. It's not compassionate to let a mad dog back out on the streets.
Oh no, I agree with
I
that.
do agree with that, Paul.
Where you can't walk safely, where your women and population can't walk in safety because we've got so much compassion. This is what we've been doing. The left is full of compassion. They've been letting all the deaf cult members thrive. I mean, I see the left as some sort of deaf cult.
Yes.
Can I just go back though? I think the two are different. The black man, he has this huge list of priors where he's just been let out. This man should be in a mental asylum or somewhere secure. He's obviously he's violent and he's sick. So, and as Donald said, they've closed down all the mental institutions. He should have been in there. And because there was no planning behind that. It's just a spur of the moment thing for him. You know, who knows what's going on in his head. The other young man, though, I've been reading about him, what he came from. His father was a sheriff, then he became a preacher. There's Mormons, and then they went to university, and university was indoctrinated. Now, I think over here, we see the indoctrination here because people saying they don't do it here. I said, Jacinta Allen is going to teach 5-year-olds they can be any gender they want, which is bullshit. They can't just suddenly go, I'm a girl today, I'm a boy tomorrow, unless they're play acting, but they can't be real. And this is indoctrination. These children aren't being taught, they've been indoctrinated. And who's to know that if you start indoctrinating them at 5, what you're going to train them into. And so I wonder, I don't want him off. He has to go to jail. He has to go to jail for a long, long time. It's America, probably forever, more the death. But I feel that this young man might actually be a victim of this state, this indoctrination that we as a community have just allowed to happen. We actually haven't, we whinged about it, we controlled about it, but for some reason we haven't been able to get organized enough, maybe until now, to actually stop it and actually go, no, this is wrong. You know what I mean? And that vulnerable people who would be vulnerable to doing acts of, I don't know. I'm just trying to see. I like to try and understand deeper than just black and white. There's something crazy here, but it's a fire from a good family.
I love the compassion, Michael, and it's completely right.
Yeah, I understand.
And where there's a potential for transformation of an individual, because like you said, if it's just bad ideology, and people can be, I believe all people can be transformed. That's sort of part of my premise of a great awakening, a real great awakening.
I think that's been used against us. We've been turned into these wimps. And if you watch Charlie's, one of the things that there are many facets to kind of falling in love with who Charlie Kirk is. Let's bring it back to that. But he's very, very clear about his lines. Like, I think he would actually be very annoyed because he said, why should somebody take a life and then they're allowed to live their life out? Now, it's confronting, but what this person did is very evil, and maybe the learning has to take place in another dimension and then they perhaps come back to this earth. Now, I'm not sure about the death penalty. I'd love to see what people think in the replies. But I think we've all been turned into such wimps in the last years because they play on us. You've got to be DEI'd and you've got to be kind to everybody. And they've used our own compassion against us. And there are so few boundaries that I think it's become really a fallen society. Someone wrote today, it's no longer about left or right. It's about humanity versus insanity. And I bring it back as a mother. If you raise a toddler and you don't give their world boundaries, if you say yes to everything and they never get a consequence for their actions, those toddlers become the ones that have the screaming fits in the supermarket on the floor, and they smash things in the home, and they dominate and they bully their parents. They grow up through school to be bullies, and they grow up to adults who generally end up in prison because they just were never given boundaries. So I think back to, say, we were talking about the Bible, Jesus Christ, when he saw the money changers, he wasn't, oh, you boys shouldn't really be here. I want you to go home and I want you to behave and I'll give you a second chance. He went, get out. You are defiling this temple and you should not be here and you know it. And he tipped up the tables. He was staunch. He was really staunch. What's that? Currently, insanity is the only reality we have. I like the one, it's humanity versus insanity. But I just am over this whole, in fact, Charlie, look up his things. I've been watching a lot of them, as a lot of us have. But he goes, I don't like empathy. He goes, empathy is, I know. I like compassion, but we've had so much brainwashing. All of us have had so much. And I just want to finish with this thought. When you were talking, Paul, before about consequences, you think of 2008 when Obama came in. I lined up my children who were quite young then, and I went, this is going to be an era like John F. Kennedy, and he's going to be the most amazing leader. And I met a woman, a black woman from America, a few months later, and she said, believe you me, Obama is the devil. And I was horrified. I mean, I was a real woke liberal wimp. And I said, how can you say that? He's the most, I talked to someone the other day who said she still thinks Obama's the most amazing president America's ever had. Now that man, when the great crash came, what did he do with all the people who had caused the mums and dads to lose all their monies and their businesses? Do you remember what he did? He gave all the bankers a second chance. He gave them all lots of government money. And we all went, well, I did as a weak wimp liberal, I went, oh, it's lovely. They'll do the right thing now. And they just got greedier. And they just worked with Big Pharma to work out a way with DARPA and the DOD to poison us so they could have even more of the world, the sort of Larry Fink profile. And we've got to learn from history. What's the saying? If you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. So I think Jesus gave us a very firm line. And I think, right back to that question, Michael, I think Charlie Kirk might have been a prophet. I think he might have been a prophet saying there is something great coming, but I'm going to do and say things that are completely unpalatable in this world until people start to wake up to the amount of change that is needed. And you can't do this spiritual weakness and be kind to everybody who is totally exploiting and hurting and wounding you. We can't do that anymore. They need consequences.
Let me have an argument back, because you've both gone that way.
Yeah.
If he was a serial killer, I'd have no problem with the death penalty. I've, other things like this. If this was his, if he was a paid assassin, he just did it. He didn't care. He just did it for money. I'd actually have no problem with the death penalty. I think this young man could be symbolic of how we've betrayed all our young people by allowing this indoctrination to go on. Because if you read about him, his father said he completely and utterly changed. And I've met others like that. I've got a guy in Australia, he's an old friend of mine, or used to be pre-COVID, and he said he can't talk to his children anymore. They've gone to university, and he says they just condescendingly put down anything he says. They're literally unreachable, and they have all these, and they're being indoctrinated the way that other dictatorships have always indoctrinated children, like 1984, where the children will dob in the parent. And I think and that's what Charlie, when he was on the campuses talking, I think the reason people were getting so angry was that he was unsettling them. They were realizing that their belief system, because they trusted their university lecturers, they trusted them. They trusted the system, but it was built on lies. It wasn't real. And Charlie effortlessly, just like an onion peel, and he didn't go deep. He just picked one layer of the onion off, and there was nothing underneath. And so I do wonder, and say for Sam, say he gets life in prison, he stays there forever. But in prison, he gets the chance to redeem himself and find, holy shit, I can't even remember what I was thinking. I mean, I've seen it here, say, with my, he's probably not watching. I remember my father, he told me really early on, this is a cull, they're culling us. And then he went and got it. And when I asked him if he was getting any more, he goes, I don't even understand why I took the first two. He didn't understand. And I've had other people say that it's like, some woman was talking to me the other day. She said her friend was going to get the jab and she was booking herself in, and something happened on the phone. She woke up and she said, oh my God, what am I doing? There was like a spell or something. And there's, and so, because when I get so many trolls, like the trolls have come back in force, but they have nothing constructive to say. It's just vitriol. It's just, it's just ridiculous.
Michael, can I say? Sorry. Yeah, can I say I agree with you that I don't. It's not that I think this guy will probably get the death penalty.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because of the impact of what he did, and if you ask Charlie, you may quite be right, and Charlie would say no. Who knows? We don't know what Charlie would have said. But the idea that he faces a consequence of life imprisonment or something like that, there has to be consequences. There has to be pushback.
I totally agree.
I mean, we've allowed evil to have. Look at the Olympics. Remember the Olympics when they were having their full-on satanic
urinating on Christianity.
And over the last couple of years, we had all these artists doing full-on satanic rituals, because for their concert, and that's been cool, as if that's a cool thing to do. So my sense is that evil has just thrived unchecked. We've got this death cult, which is very much linked in with the shots and the depopulation agenda and the criminality and all I'm saying is, while with love and compassion, there has to be pushback now. The energy has to be enough now to finally say, no more. We will not tolerate this. So when I played those clips of all those people going, oh, I'm happy that Charlie got shot. And if they lose their job, I'm okay with that. I'm not like, oh dear, we were cancelled. We don't want to cancel them. No, if they're homicidal psychopaths, bad programming, whatever, the university, bad parenting, I don't care. I think consequences have to come back.
But they're not
consequences have to come back. Otherwise, you know, the rapists continue to roam the streets. The Satans continue to have their great displays of how wonderful their devil and Lord is, and nothing changes. So you know, I want to see this energy with love and compassion, but there has to be consequences. There has to be pushback now.
I don't think we can cope on this earth as beings without some kind of divine guidance in the form of a structure. I mean, I really love the idea that Charlie took a Sunday off and he put his phones away and he didn't even look at them. And, you know, we could all afford to do that, the three of us, because we've spent 5 years giving our energy.
Saturday,
yeah, it was like a detox day for phones, and maybe everybody watching, we all do it on a Sunday. Then you think, I wouldn't mind finding a little local church. It's not about religion for me. It's about a direct link. I'm an adult. I don't need I don't need the censoring woman in Australia to tell me what I can and cannot watch. I don't need a priest to tell me what to believe. I can work it out now with finding people online that I trust and thinking about what they say and asking questions and reading. I'm going to go back to reading a lot. And I think I'll go back to reading the Bible for 10 minutes a day and maybe just open it to a page like that young girl did and see, what's my message for today? Have fun with it. Instead of making it heavy, make it fun. But I think we need to go back to our communities, and those images that you gave, Michael, of a little town in Australia with 2 churches or 1 little church. How fun would it be to just get together and say, let's all meet, maybe on a Wednesday night, and just say what we've learned and about the Bible. Maybe we just need to do that to counter what Paul's talking about, which is this. I have known now definitively for the last year and a half, since I stood in the elections in New Zealand, there are demonic forces raging around this earth. And that video you showed, Paul, what I wanted to say was those people are actually occupied beings. The person has really gone and the demon is speaking through them. And I think we have to take it that seriously now. If you'd met me 5 years ago, I would have said, I don't believe in any of that. In fact, years ago, I used to say, there's no such thing as evil. There's only love. You know, I was a wimp about that as well. You've got to really get muscular with it. And Charlie he goes, there's absolutely demonic energies on this earth. And we have ignored them to our cost and to our peril and at our peril. So we have to find ways. There was one guy who actually dressed up as a demon in a video of Charlie Kirk's, and he just picked up the microphone and he went, I cast out this devil. I mean, it was like Jesus used to do. I cast out this devil here. I cast you out. You know, I put the sacred, basically, energy of God. I can't find the words because I'm not yet familiar with them, but it was beautiful what he did. It was very calm, wasn't emotional, wasn't rude. He's not a bigot. And then he proceeded to ask him if he wanted to have a conversation. But he's fully aware that there are devilish forces on this earth, and by God, they've tried to take all 3 of us down because we stood against them. So that young man, it was a terrible thing that he's been brainwashed. I'll finish here in this bit. A few weeks ago on Freedom Train International, this wonderful international journalist, Alex Newman, came on and he was talking with Jim Ferguson. He's gorgeous, Alex Newman, Michael. He'd be lovely to interview.
Cool.
And one of the phrases he said was, if I was a parent with my children in school or in university, I wouldn't waste time going to the board of the university or the board of the school and saying, you need to do better. I would rush into that school as if it was a burning building, and I would take my children out of that school or out of that university as quickly as I could, and I would never look back. He said, they are so dangerous now. And it's not just talking about universities. He's saying our schooling is so unsafe.
That's my point. You know,
Propaganda,
this is,
brainwashing, Orwellian, nightmarish things for our most beautiful brains, our most open, absorptive brains at their most formative years. And we are putting them in these things. And in the years of COVID, Jacinda Ardern spent money putting railings around all the schools, right down to the junior school, these ghastly, tall black railings. If they shut those electronic gates, parents wouldn't be able to climb the railings. And someone said to me the other day, they've got railings everywhere and cameras everywhere. How is it different from a prison? How is school different from a prison?
Well, the other thing too is that with so many people struggling with the mortgage, a lot of the children are going into daycare literally from a few weeks outside of the womb. So they're literally brought up by the state now. You know, the parents see them in the afternoon where they're busy and rushing around. Often I've heard that it'll be in daycare, and then when they get home, they're off to ballet, and then they're off to netball, and they're off to this. So every day, I've heard about this from lots of people. So every day, so they have hardly any time with the parents, maybe on the weekend. And so the state is literally taking over in a lot of families, the bringing up of the children.
You know, that's a term of Agenda 2030, Michael. That is that's an actual section in Agenda 2030. The state will basically take over the raising of the children. That's communism. That's Marxism. That's where the state, they want to brainwash our children. And all kids, what they most love is just mucking around at home with mum and dad relaxed with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, everybody knows it. I remember my son was probably a year old, and everyone was buying him these great presents, and he just wanted to play with the box. Didn't give a shit about all these things, did gadgets and stuff. He was just in the box.
I was babysitting my 4-year-old the other day, my 4-year-old grandchild, and it was a piece of paper that was wrapping a box that had arrived, and her mum had left the paper on the table. So I ripped a bit and I made her this elegant woman with a terribly refined English accent, Michael. And she was very elegant, and I made a story, and the big piece of paper was the father, and she was the mother. And my 4-year-old was completely lost in this story I created from 2 bits of paper. Like, kids don't want us buying a whole lot of junk for them. They want to be there on our knees and just making up stories and laughing. Yeah.
And Liz, when you talked about like the great financial crisis and the way there was a bailout for the bankers, they were made 100% whole, but the losses fell on the people. And then they inflated in America from 800 billion balance sheet to trillions. And now the currencies of the world are becoming toilet paper. And so people can't afford housing, they can't afford, more and more they can't afford food. Just accountability again, you see. Remember The Big Short? They said, look at all this craziness and fraud. And people were locked up. No, nothing happened. There was no accountability. People got immensely rich. The rest of the other 99.9% got poorer and continues to, because there was never accountability.
Yeah.
No bankers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What's his name says that? Jared Rennick. He says of freedom, he goes, we also got to talk about responsibility. That's one of his things, Paul. And just I've just been sent some images. There's a great image being sent here of you and me, Paul. There's we had
from
a great
yesterday?
time.
From yesterday?
Yeah, let's bring it up.
Well, let's have a look. Oh, that's so nice.
That's a nice picture, man.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
I don't know who that guy is, but I think I recognize this one, or at least these ones. Me and Johnny. That was
gosh, you all look so happy. You really look joyful. That's that in that photo and the previous one.
It was a great day.
Yeah.
It was a really great day, and there was a really good feeling, and there was lots of huggings, and there's this really beautiful thing. I was getting hugs by lots of guys, and it must be because of my grinder profile. I don't know. Anyway, I was getting, but no, it was. And what I was doing, they were coming up and hugging, And then I did this thing to them because it was really grieving. And so I just put in an extra bit of strength to sort of just make sure they knew they were hugged rather than just this. And man, they were reciprocating. I was like, ah! It's just these men.
Michael now has 4 fractured ribs.
Yeah, but it was really lovely. And I thought, this is how we sell. We're coming together as people. We're understanding the value of each other and how precious and rare we are. And that we've got this remarkable choice now. You can either be totally irrelevant and just put your head down and just keep running. I've got a song called The Lucky Country, and it's saying, just keep running, head down along our fading golden shores. We can do that. Or you can stand and do anything. I met a guy yesterday, if he's watching, he goes, I've put out 50,000 stickers. He goes around, he knows where to put them and stuff. This is great. This is what I said before with you, Liz. You know, the 12 apostles were brought down by little waves. This is the war of the little waves. And so he's doing that. Yes. Other people are doing these things. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If we all do a little bit,
yes,
they will not be able to withstand it.
And talk about that. The 12 apostles are rocks. We're not talking biblical there. These are rocks that were brought down by waves pushing against them.
They're sort of monoliths, I guess, of rocks off the Victoria coast. It's supposed to be 12. I don't know if there was ever 12, but I remember when I was young, there was at least 6 or 7. Now there's only 3, and they haven't been brought down by a tsunami or an earthquake, but by lots of little waves just pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding. And eventually they collapse. And that's what I see happening. All these things now is just more, it's the tide of light just coming in. And we want to get rid of the hate. The hate's had 5 years. We've all learned about, we've actually benefited myself. I'm a different man for these 5 years. So the struggle has been good for me. Maybe it's been good for all of us. And now with Charlie, and even we've, in a way, I hate to say this, but if the death of Charlie is the catalyst that changes the world, then we kind of owe the man who shot him, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise. Otherwise, Charlie would just be someone we'd come up on TikTok and we'd watch for a few seconds. It's really interesting. And the other thing too is just to bring up in final. I haven't talked much about this, but there's Desi, one of our the community.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to be very controversial here because I got angry with someone today because I hear people trying to sort of devalue the event or somehow find a way to justify what he did. But to me, I'm sorry, but thou shalt not kill. And these are 2 policemen. And I don't say it, and people go, oh, the cops are only cops. These policemen had families, kids, dreams. They had a right to be alive, and this man has just snuffed them out because whatever reason. I don't give a shit what the reason is. I don't want to be a part of a community that justifies the killing of other people. I just don't want to be a part of it. And so the community said, oh, okay, you're out of the community, I'll leave. I'm not going to be a part of a community that celebrates the killing. No, and I know they go, oh, you know, the cops shot celebrate bullets and stuff like this. A few of the cops have, but not all of them. I do not believe that every police officer in Australia is corrupt and just wants to oppress people. It's like everything. And our community is the same. We've got people who are angelic, like young Paul was on trial. And for some reason, Desi's decided to do this. It's a tragedy. And I do, right, people have said he didn't do it. I'm sorry. But he did do it. As far as I'm concerned, he did do it. I don't believe that. And I believe by saying he didn't do it, then you're actually trying to get him off the hook, where we know people who know him and people who were there. And I was on his farm once years ago. Yeah, I can't condone it.
I think it's fine, Michael. You know, this is one of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill. And, you know,
Number 1.
You're restating it, and that's fair. I understand where you're coming from. I found the video of the fellow who said, my name's John, I've got no online presence.
Yeah.
The reason is because I'm scared to post things because that I really care about. Should I play that? Well,
sure.
Yes. It's 1 minute, so let's see if I can get it on.
Oh,
My
yes.
name is John. I have practically
So-
no online presence. And the reason my name is John. I have practically no online presence. And the reason for that is because I am scared to post things that I believe or really care about because I worry about what people will think of me. I am worried about missing out on opportunities because of an online footprint. Yesterday, a man died, presumably because he believed the same things that I believe in. I am a conservative, and more importantly, I'm a Christian. I believe wholeheartedly that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, that he died from our sins and rose again, and that he is God. I know that in the grand scheme of things, I don't really matter. No one knows or even cares who I am. But if there's even one person who sees this and gains the courage to speak up themselves, that's why I'm making this. Just so that everybody knows that.
And the irony is that
He's had millions of views.
that had like 6 million views on X. And that tune that you scrolled, just channeled out of the grief of Charlie's death, has also been listened to by millions. It's extraordinary.
Yeah,
and now millions are marching in the streets of London, peacefully saying, we want to return to the countries we know, the countries of the Magna Carta, where free speech was born, and we haven't had free speech. Yes. We haven't had a moral country. Moral countries. God, was blocked in COVID. The churches were blocked. It was the scientists and the experts became the new priests and the new religion, and their article of faith was this unholy synthetic gene mixture, and now is the time. The thing that gives me so much hope. He started Turning Point America, Charlie, and the irony is, his death may well be seen as the turning point for our societies. His death was the turning point.
Did you all see his wife yesterday saying, I will not let this rest? Well, I read today that 18,000 applications have come in for more chapters across the world of Turning Point. But I agree. I agree with that. Look, on the Desi story, I don't know all the details, and I saw somebody post, I don't know the story, but I did look a little bit into the background because we've had a very similar, unnervingly similar situation where police have murdered a father, actually, and yes, he shot back. But I'll just deal with it very quickly. My gut says that man Desi was being bullied and goaded and pushed and subtly just really mentally worn down over years and years in court, I think, as well as outside court. And a lot of it was police action. Now, does that justify him killing the police? And yes, they are humans. No, it doesn't. But I think it's a marker of the incredibly poor levels of policing we've had in the last 5 years. Those police who shot at you guys when you're on the shrine, that also is an unforgivable act. That was the shrine honoring our forebears, like my father who went to the war so that we could be free to stand up and protest. So wrong begets wrong begets wrong. And now I think with Charlie's death, I think we're going on the right side where we say love and openness and truth begets more love and openness and truth. But I do think many of the police, not all, have really let themselves and their society and us down in the last few years. And I personally experienced it. I mean, I still have shoulders. They virtually broke both my shoulders. It was just horrendous what they did. It was so painful what I went through, and it slowly comes out. But I have to see a chiropractor most weeks. And I often wonder if that policeman just sleeps at night and never even gives a thought to what he did so roughly to a 63-year-old woman who said, officer, under what law are you telling us to leave the airport? And then I was assaulted. There was 3 seconds from go to woe before he had my arms behind my back and he was tearing them and ripping them. So I think that guy Desi has been to hell, and I think he hasn't come back from it. I think he broke mentally that day. He just couldn't take them doing it anymore. Now, I think it serves the police because it's a warning. You cannot push the people this far. You cannot treat us with this much brutality. I mean, I can't drive past a police car without shuddering in horror. Have I lost all trust in them? Yes. So in this case in New Zealand, where this father had taken his children, he didn't want them jabbed. I think the mother had some issues with perhaps drugs, but he had custody as far as I understand. And he'd taken them to the bush, and he was a bushman. And you imagine the childhood they had? I mean, for 4 years, they've lived in the bush. They've learned to survive in the cold. They could probably dig a shelter anywhere. They know how to hunt and light fires and cook and be completely out of the matrix, out of the servitude that these governments demand. And for some inexplicable reason, one of these horrendous prostitute mainstream legacy media journalists, Paddy Gower, did an interview with the sister. And I just saw, as soon as I saw that interview, I thought, the police are going to try and ramp this up, because the journalists are all on the payroll of the government and the cops, and they get it all ready beforehand to try to get sympathy. But the story here doesn't add up at all. It looks as if he was in handcuffs when he was shot. People are asking questions about that. We're not getting any truthfulness. We're not getting any openness. And it's a brutal case. Now, here's the worst thing. I wonder about those children. From being completely independent of this ghastly system in which we've been made slaves, and we're all waking up to it now. They were free. And what did they do? They brought them back in. Oh, it's for the good of the children. Those children are in state care. How do we even know if they're together? Who's helping them through the grieving? How do we know if they're safe sexually or physically or morally or ethically, or if it's just people who want money to look after kids and are treating them badly? And they were happy with their father. There was no need for our New Zealand police to do that. And I can tell you this, Michael, in court, those police lied. In the process of 18 months before my lawfare, they hid all the evidence. So I would just say this to the police. It's horrible you lost 2 police. It's horrible we had 1 policeman injured here. But police, caveat emptor, this is a warning to you. You can't go on pushing good people until they reach their breaking point. So I think Desi needs massive compassion for what's been done, and it would be a horrific thing he's gone through for a man standing up, you know, in his way to the system. It's a brutal system. It's got to fall, and we've got to bring in a new world, Michael.
So the killer of Charlie gets no compassion, and the killer of these cops gets compassion. Do you think that's biased because he's on our side?
Yeah, I think I absolutely do. I think that they, unlike, I mean, I guess there is a similarity, because that killer of Charlie has also been, in a way, suffering, but we could have been programmed. Why didn't we get programmed by the system? Why do some people fall into the programming, as opposed to Desi, who was having his home invaded constantly and having people stopping him and standing over him and bullying him and intimidating. And we don't know all the facts of that, but it looks as if he tried to run his own defense, and he's just been persecuted for being, I know from many who've reached out to me, if you're a man alone, it's really hard to stand up to the system. It's different once you get a profile. And I would often give interviews to say to people, look, if we can give you a profile, it will protect you. So he valiantly sort of tried to go on and take the system on, and it hasn't worked for him because they've just brutalized him. So yeah, look, I get that, Michael. It's and I'm not absolutely advocating for any killer to be killed, partly because I think that young man who they're putting in the press, I think he's a decoy, so they could kill the wrong man. So there is always that problem with capital punishment.
Michael, I think it's possible to have compassion for both the policemen who didn't deserve to die that day, And
Yeah,
for
yeah. I
Desi,
get that.
who may have been pushed beyond the bounds of his ability to exist. You know, and it's possible to have. It's not either or. I think you can have compassion for both sides, and understand that there's probably much more to the story. And yes, you're right to be careful. You're saying we will be biased towards the story of Desi, and I'm suspicious how the media straight away picked up on that and put a banner underneath reminiscent of the COVID-19. You know, this is the WHO things, safe and effective, whatever. It said sovereign citizen movement. ASIO is concerned. ASIO is concerned about the rise of the sovereign citizen
Teaching our
movement.
people to hate. They're doing
You
it.
know,
My mum thinks I'm a sovereign citizen now.
and it really looked like an op. It smelt like the same sort of op. You know, the fact that it actually, the banner that I tweeted said ASIO is worried about it. And the way they conflated sovereign citizen with, if you click through to their Wikipedia, at the top of it, it says not to be confused with sovereign individual. That's someone who believes in bodily autonomy. You know, that sounds a lot like, you know, some of us who have been saying, you know, mandates are unethical. We have a right to decide what treatment our children and we get in our bodies. Our bodies are temples. That everyone should be supporting that, including Channel 7 and ASIO. And so you've got to be careful about how they play the mind games. I've been watching how they, you know, using this term, sovereign citizen movement. It arrived out of nowhere. And it sounds so much like a core ethical principle that has been completely ignored for the last 5 years. Sovereign individual is cool.
I mean, I really liked your challenge to me, Michael, just then. Can I just say that? Because I've been grappling with this, because I watched the Charlie Kirk thing about taking a life. You know, how can the other person live on when they've taken someone else's life? And Charlie, of all people, deserved a life. I mean, did you hear that they may have run through their sort of algorithmic stuff they can do, all of Charlie's trays, and he looked as if he would have been the perfect candidate to be a president.
Oh yeah, I think he was the future president. They shot
He absolutely was. So this amazing life has been done, and maybe I'm just angry at the moment that life was taken and those children are so young. But I think your challenge was right, that maybe it is right that we have better facilities where these people can have a chance to redeem themselves in a really solid way, not in the way we do it now. Prison's brutal, and you know, the people who get out are still often just in the same trauma, and they're given no follow-up support when they get out of jail. So I guess in the world we want to bring it would be different.
Norway right. I just want to bring us back to something else, something to what I'm leaning with now. I've got every reason to hate and be bitter and be nasty. I mean, the amount of hate I get sent to me every day. I've had all day. I've just had hate on most of my posts.
What?
But I'm not. But I'm not hating back. But I usually block them. But now I'm talking. But I'm not hating back. But I really feel that there's like two paths ahead of us. We continue the animosity, and the hate will just continue to divide us. Yeah. And the divide will be unbreachable. We won't be able to get across it because the hate, as has happened in so many countries around the world, the hate gets so deep. Or while it's not that deep yet, it's still significant. It's the most significant I've ever known it. And there's only one bridge that can heal it now, and that's forgiveness. And we have to forgive. We don't have to forget. And these people who have done crime should still go to jail and face retribution. But we have to forgive. Because if we don't, then we'll continue to go through life like you with that cop, wondering if he's sleeping in bed. But all you're really doing, Liz, is holding onto a cactus. The only one who's suffering is you. At some point, you got to let it go. And I don't have any animosity towards the people that shot me or anything. I've gone through that now. I actually grieve for them because this is a beautiful country. It's a free country. And for some reason, they could not see it. but they became our oppressors. They've backed off since then, but they became our oppressors. They dressed up in black storm suits, and that's what they wear. And I feel for them, but I can't help them unless they want to talk. Juan's reached out to me now and again, and now he's gone quiet that he wants to talk, but he's not. And I just feel in the longer term, we cannot leave this beautiful country on a path that will one day, maybe it might take 50, 60, or 100 years, but could one day end up like Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
We have to steer Australia back
Yes.
to a place of a beacon of decency for the world, and forgiveness is the only way to do that. And more than forgive, just almost one more word. And the only way to reach forgiveness is discourse, is to talk and understand.
Yes, that's what Charlie
And
Kirk
that's
said.
what Charlie was about.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. Without anger, but it has to lead to action. Charlie took action. He didn't just believe his beliefs and just sit there and not engage in the world. He engaged in the world, and he wanted to see change, and we all desperately want to see change. And I just don't want to conflate the idea of compassion and forgiveness with let's carry on business as usual, and let's let insanity and corruption and evil just run rampant. It has to end, and it may end with words, but we may need other skillful actions. I would like to think that if we all fail to comply in appropriate ways in unison, we could put so much pressure on the system that it would have to change. I don't want violence, but I want such definiteness of purpose now that will end the corruption, end the evil, and the harming of our people and our children and our pregnant women and our men. It has to end, and I would love to think that discourse and open-hearted speech will do it. But what I'm suggesting to you is that it may need more, and that doesn't have to be in anger. Again, you see someone, harming someone else or harming themselves. It's not compassionate, to look away. No one came to the aid of Irina on that subway.
No, that was it. Yeah, no, that's
I agree with you. I think forgiveness has its place. There's a lovely phrase. I think you'll love the poetic nature of this. I think it's Mark Twain. He said, "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet spreads upon the heel that has crushed it." And I think that's a really lovely way to look at it. However, when I lie awake at 3 a.m, sometimes think of that cop and think, does he ever think what he did to a grandmother, in effect? But I also think, how many others is he doing that to? How many other women? If he would do that to an older woman who is perfectly respectable and respectful to him, and should I take some action so that he does learn that that's not okay? And I haven't answered that either. But I do absolutely agree that being bitter or angry only hurts us. And I see Tracy put up a comment, I think it was, forgiveness is for ourselves, really, because it's no good being bitter or angry in this life.
It allows you to move on.
Yeah, I can't understand why you're getting all these trolls, Michael. Why are you getting them all? I think it must be that you're very over target, and they know that you're really influencing a little bit like Charlie, and that you are fearlessly freedom-minded, and they will never be able to break that out of you. So they're setting trolls on you. What do you think they are? I do. I think it's a compliment.
Look, I feel for a lot of them because all they have to offer is hate. And that's what I talk to them about. Everything you say is hate. There's nothing else to you. Is this it? And you've been taught to hate. You've been taught. This is not even you. This is just how you communicate now. You've been
it's
beaten. You're
beautiful.
like a dog that's just barking at the passing parade, you know, and you don't realize you could just stop barking and join us.
Do you know
'Cause
what it
we're
is,
leaving.
Michael? It's like those videos where
It
you
is.
see a dog that has been chained and abused for a long
Yes.
time and is mangy and full of disease. And then when they bring it, they release it, bring it, show it love, clean it, heal its wounds, and then you see a dog transformed, you know, a happy, smiling face. If the love is the answer, but yeah, my question is, what is the skillful actions we need to bring about this change?
Here's a question for you both. What would you do if Dan Andrews walked into a meeting that you're holding and came up to you both afterwards? Would you shower him with love, Michael?
Oh no, I'm not that soft. I wouldn't shower him with love. He's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that, but and I'd like to see Dan Andrews in jail. I reckon he's or at least on trial. For there's things that he has to do. Not that.
Yeah.
But I'm not soft that way. But to me, I saw something remarkable this week when I was in the trial of Paul. They found him guilty, and as soon as they found him guilty, it seemed that that's all the state wanted, a guilty plea on the hardest, on the harshest, the most egregious charge, which was driving knowingly or recklessly at police. And if he'd had a barrister, the barrister could have got him off probably in a jiffy. Because as soon as he got found guilty, the barrister went, "We don't want any jail time. We don't want a custodial sentence of any sort." And the barrister the prosecution became Paul's lawyer. I actually said in court, "You should have been his lawyer." I remember it was Paul didn't stand a chance against the system. The only thing that saw Paul get an incredibly lenient sentence was just a $2,000 fine, which the community has already paid. So thank you for that, guys.
Wow.
Was Paul shone? Paul, everyone could see, even the judge commented on his character. They could see that Paul was a decent man. He's never even had a parking ticket, let alone a speeding fine. No, this first offense. So I saw light shine out of Paul that affected everyone, but the state still had to protect itself. And this is what I see fighting and crumbling. We've got AI breathing down our neck, ready to make us redundant, AI and robotics. We have to realize all we have is each other. Those above us are just trying to get on the ark to the new place where they're going, and they've already sacrificed us. As far as they're concerned, we're cannon fodder. So we have to come together, and that includes the police. They're not getting on the ark to go to the new world either, wherever this thing is. They're with us. And so we have to, I think it's a time to shine as humans. I'm asking questions now, and I've got I don't know what the following is, but often when I'm doing a rant, like I did today, murmurings of God, or God murmurings, I'm realizing this could get me. Maybe I'll lose Cafe Lockdown, but it's worth it because I'm feeling, okay, this is what coming to me is the truth. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, what I feel compelled to say, and I'm prepared to live with the consequences, And
why don't we invite Karen on Cafe Lockdown? There was just a gorgeous post down there.
Idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. There's a gorgeous post down there from a fellow, I think it was a fellow here, was saying, well, what I'd do with Dan Andrews is first smash him in the face and then forgive him. Is that okay?
Push him down the stairs again.
Part of me can relate because he did terrible things. And for a long time, I was angry at Jacinda because I was interviewing all these terribly jab-injured people who were not even being acknowledged. I remember Casey Hodgkinson, we had to raise money for her wheelchair. She couldn't even get a wheelchair from the hospital.
Oh, no.
And she was totally neurologically damaged. And so for a long time I was angry. And then one day I thought, wait a minute, how can I turn Jacinda around? And I thought, I would never have found the determination to stand up and speak out and the courage and no matter what comes with the trolls, if it hadn't been for her maybe she's been one of my great teachers. Having said that, if I met her, I don't know what I'd do. I would definitely say to her, do you have any idea of the amount of deaths that shouldn't have happened and injuries that shouldn't be there because of your actions? And do you have any idea that you'll carry that through to your deathbed unless you seriously confront the country with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and put it right and own up? And Jacinda Ardern would not even show up to our faked up government inquiry. She was too cowardly to do that. So I think I try to be a bit more like Charlie and just use words of logic now. But if I'd met her at the height of it, I would have been really angry. I would have demanded she came and met the jab injured that I was interviewing, and that she faced them and she heard their stories and saw their pain.
Both of you are reminding me of a story I read years ago about a French spiritualist. I think he pronounced it Gurdjieff. And he had a spiritual community, and they were all learning, compassion and love and meditation and prayer. But there was one character within the community that just, it was rude and obnoxious, and eventually they just said, we've had enough of you, go, leave the community. And then Gurdjieff heard of it, and he said, no, bring that guy back. Bring him back straight away. And why? He said, all of you get on. You need him to practice your compassion in your, So on one hand, yes, I get it.
Yes.
For the practitioner, dealing with difficult people if you skillfully, is a blessing. But that said, I've also wondered if we got rid of the 1% of humanity, or even a tinier fraction, the true psychopaths, without any ability to feel compassion,
yes.
we would have a much better world. So I've contradicted myself because I have those two conflicting thoughts.
I do too. Yeah.
The thing is, though, Paul, that it's easy to think that, there's a great documentary called The Corporation, I think, in which these CEOs come out, and this CEO goes, you have to stop me because I can't stop myself. I've just got this thing for making money, and it's like an obsession, narrow focused, and they can't stop themselves. So I think, the corporations are like double-edged. They've given us all this wonderful world and this technology, but at the same time too, they've got this insatiable greed, and life is very complicated. And I think what the beautiful thing around it is, it's so complicated, so confusing, always has been. And then we got people dying on us, when these people made churches, they'd have children probably dying at birth, or and try to make sense of where they were. So they'd build these churches almost like True North. There, somewhere in there in this fort is a fort for God. It is something to gravitate towards. And even though they're up for sale, even though most of them are up for sale now, I think maybe we'll get back now, like you said, Paul. We'll start gravitating back towards some core principles that we suddenly realize benefit us all, even if
and I love you mentioned the corporation, because I remember seeing that when it came out, and Sri Malhotra often talks about that, willful blindness, and that corporations act by their very structure as psychopath. They don't care about
encourages
the environment or family or health. They only care about making profit. You talk about put people ahead of profit. We have a structure, and these aren't even people. There's no body to incarcerate, to imprison. These are eternal structures and it has to end. We could end it. We could say, as humanity, we've allowed a structure which, in effect, makes people behave in these organizations that only care about profit, and as a result, they're acting to produce harm. And so I think it's wonderful. We have an opportunity now to re-envisage the world. We might have to still hit rock bottom before we do, but I can see it's late in. I think it's late in New Zealand now.
Yeah, we're keeping you up, girl.
Oh, it's such a lovely talk, though. It could have gone.
Did you
And so
take
I
that
was,
line of
I was,
speed I told you to take before you did the show?
yeah. I don't think it was vitamin C. What did you suggest? I've been making little notes all the way through because it's just been such a rich discussion. I want to come back to that. It's been that kind of discussion where I'll probably lie in bed at 3 a.m. and go, I should have followed up that point from Michael. And actually, I want to follow this up, Michael. When are you going to publish that play? That play needs to be put on. I want to come to Colac again and see it.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. It's in.
Yeah.
I can't think of plays anymore. But if you want to have something funny, the Blue Bee is taking off. Do you know about the Blue Bee?
Well, no, only peripherally.
So
tell everybody the Blue Bee.
So we're looking for a symbol,
Yeah.
like a Christian fish. So we're trying this. It comes from Mel, who what's her second name? Mel Hogan, who came up with Daisies for Dazzle. And she said, have you thought of the blue-banded Australian bee? And it's a bee, it's native, it doesn't live in a hive, it doesn't follow a queen, and it pollinates flowers by vibrating above them, and it lives in a hole. So it's us. It's a rabbit hole.
That is brilliant.
And so we did it. And some of them come like this, others come with free bee underneath, bee free underneath. And they're really taking off. And I think it's for people who don't want to walk around with hang the bastards on them. They just want something gentle, like a little badge or something. So if you walk in and you see the badge, you can come up and going, I'm a blue bee too, you know? So it's looking for symbols like earrings, and we're hoping, there it is there. There's the blue bee. So it's a blue-banded bee. But here's the joke that we're doing. Ask her, and because they all say we're in a cult, and I'm saying, well, the bee is proof that we're not in a cult, because it wants to be a part of society, but it wants to think freely. But ask us both what the blue bee is.
What is the blue bee?
It's our God.
And that is really beautiful, because the world could not survive without bees. That's incredible to think of that, isn't it?
If anyone's going to arrest you, or just say, I'm supporting bees, mate, bees.
But this world would not have survived without those of us who had the gumption to push back on the whole rollout that they had planned from the COVID-19 thing. If we hadn't been this force to be reckoned with, to just stop them enough for enough people to wake up, we'd probably all be living in gulags now, or at least in smart cities, which are not smart. They're concentration camps, because S, as Andrew Bridgen always reminds me, S is for surveillance, M is for monitoring. So we've managed to push back, but there's still work to do. So I think we've got to be very aware that some of this Charlie Kirk stuff, I think we need to look out for the decoy and not get, as you say, not get too caught up in that, but realize they mustn't lie.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, I think we just have to watch that they don't say, we need to bring in digital ID to stop, shooters going around. I know. Digital ID is the line we must all say no to. That is the line. That's the one.
Liz, I think they will bring it in. There's no question that that's their agenda. But it's a choice if we use it, if we engage in their new market the beast system.
Yeah.
And so they're going to do what they're going to do, but it's up to each one of us individually. Are we going to comply? And one of the cries that came over and over again at the march at the speeches is, we practice saying no.
As we're doing it at the march.
We're practicing no, so we have to start practicing no.
That's
right.
And it's as easy as that. Yeah.
In finishing though, Liz, we made the choice. You made the choice to do the path you've been on to reach us here. I've done it. Paul's done it, and we were in a march yesterday with lots of people that have done it, loads of people that have done it. But that choice was, we chose freedom.
Yes.
So we are freedom people. We are a freedom community because we chose freedom, even at the price of being ostracized, being cancelled, losing our jobs. They've 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 made us into second class citizens. They use us. They deride us to basically frighten the rest of the community to comply because they don't want to be treated like us. But we are free because we made this choice. We're freer than others. And this is why we can speak like this, because they can't keep canceling us. So we're free to talk, you know? And so
And what was the word
this is
Charlie
pride for
Kirk had
freedom.
on his T-shirt when he was shot, Michael? What was the
Freedom.
word?
Freedom.
Yeah,
I saw
I think
that.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
They were
Because they're
trying to
drinking
say,
water now. Yeah.
yeah,
That
they were
poor
trying to
that
say we can shoot your freedom, we can shoot your
yeah.
throat and silence you, and instead it feels like any bullets from them, it's kind of Matrix-like, have just ricocheted back metaphorically with
Yeah.
this massive explosion in their
Yeah.
face of people saying, no, no, we'll embrace real freedom.
Yeah.
And we will wake millions of others now to be with
Yeah.
us, and we will all stand and pray and turn back to God, which is the one thing they fear. God, they fear love, they fear family, and they fear the word no. So those are the four things, I think.
And once you
Mm.
once the majority of people are no longer frightened of their bullets, then they
Yes,
lose.
that's it.
That's how it crumbles. They lose their. We're not frightened anymore. You kill Charlie, the hate stops with him. We're not frightened anymore. Kill us all if you want. We're not going to sit back down. You know. Yeah.
I wanted to find this little AI meme, but I'm going to explain it to you to finish. And it's Charlie sitting on the stage with the freedom shirt, and he's talking. He picks up the microphone. We don't really see the bullet because the next part of the AI is he just puts his hands together. There are all these angels in the background, and then there's all this bright light coming around him, and he puts down the microphone and he sprints over to his left towards light, and there's a staircase, and at the top is this beautiful man just opening his arms to him, and it's Jesus, and he just races up those stairs to Jesus. And the point of that story is that if we have no fear of death because we've done our best on this earth and we know there is nothing to fear, if we haven't done evil to others, there is nothing to fear in death. It's a beautiful place, as I once told you, Michael, with my near-death experience. So it just made me feel so peaceful. He's in a really peaceful place, and his work here is done. His life has had a massive impact, and his wife will carry it on with all of our support. So what is there not to celebrate in that? Live a good life, have no fear of death, and then you will fear no man or woman. And we will live peacefully and joyfully together through that. And we will win. Good will win over evil now. Absolutely.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks for a beautiful show, Liz. I was so
Oh, it was
excited when you
lovely.
said you were coming on. Yeah.
I love being with you
Look
too.
at him
I
smiling
love
like
it.
look at him smiling like a Cheshire cat over there.
We got Paul over to New Zealand for the Barry Young data. That was a brilliant
Yeah,
thing.
man.
Oh,
That's
we
historic stuff.
haven't even had a chance to get to talk about Barry tonight, but we'll have to have you back soon.
I'd love
Yeah.
that. I'd love
Then you
that.
can
Barry's
take out
next
your-
in court in December, and he's working away on his case. But yeah, that was beautiful. I've got such connections with you both, and it's lovely, lovely to see all the comments of everybody. What a fantastic show this is. It's so.
We've got such a fantastic community. That's what I mean.
Yeah, we do.
You
And
really
the thing is, what happened tonight, like when we were disagreeing, I'm telling we have a few people come on. It's okay. We can disagree because we're
Yes.
not in a community where we disagree. You're out of the community. We can disagree. You know. Yeah.
And that was everything Charlie stood for. He'd be clapping up there. That's what I was trying to say. Talk and share your differences, share your commonalities, but do it with respect and love, which is what we three always do. Thank you both. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye.
Okay. Good
I'm
night,
gonna
everybody.
get
We're going to go out with the song because we can't play it forever. So we'll go out with the song. This is for a man called Charlie. Good night, everybody. And
Good night.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank
It was raining last night, I could hear it dancing on the roof. I fell asleep listening to the beauty of rain. But when I woke, you were gone. Someone had used their hate to take you away. And so the rain of last night is now raining inside of me. I think the angels just might be standing up to welcome you home, as we remain here fighting in the trench that just grew colder. But despite the shot, I know you're not dead. Instead, you're leaving light could become our new dawn. I wonder if when your mother first held you, as all the love you brought was a dawn in her eyes, did if she ever sensed then that a warrior was here, with a tongue for a sword and the armor of truth? For in a darkening world that's being turned upside down, you were a single man that rose until we could see you from here. How many roads must a man walk down before we call him a man? Well, I'm on your road, to try and emulate you by constructing a sign that reads Charlie Kirk, a man passed this way. On his journey to the son who he knew, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us home.